Good morning. Welcome back to the Celtic Way. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of December. Not long now. Trips till the man in the red suit and the furry hat and the beard turns up. But in the meantime, I'm Tony Haggerty, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Josh McCafferty. Josh, it seems like ages since you and I have been on together. So your luck's finally ran out, I think. So there you go.
No, it's been a while actually. It seems I genuinely can't remember the last time I was on with your good self, Tony. But no, always happy to be on with.
Yeah, and we'll talk all things Celtic. Got a match to look forward to today. Martin O'Neill's last stand, or is it, Josh? We keep being told it is, but hey, who knows? Who knows when it's Celtic and trying to conclude a deal for a new manager. But first and foremost, wee bit of housekeeping, as we always do. We say thank you to Simply Furniture, who sponsor the daily broadcasts and all our briefings. Look, they're located in Hillington, Glasgow, and it's Simply Furniture, are an independent brand dedicated to bringing luxury and contemporary style into homes across the UK. And they've got over a decade of experience in furniture retail, and they meticulously source only the finest pieces curated for quality, comfort, and timeless designs. From elegant sofas to statement dining sets, their handpicked collections offer exceptional value without compromising on style, and their dedicated team ensures that your furniture is delivered with care right to your doorstep. And if you want to see their beauty up close, you can visit their stunning showroom in Hillington and even mention the Celtic Way, and you'll receive a special in-store discount. And all the links to their socials will be in the description of this broadcast. Josh, here we are. Wilfried Nancy, supposedly, maybe, allegedly, definitely, maybe, coming in. And Callum McGregor alluded to it because he was asked the question. And his first 3 games could be top of the table clash against Hearts, a Europa League outing against AS Roma, and the small matter of an Association Football Cup final against St Mirren at Hampden. Welcome to Celtic, Mr. Wilfried Nancy. Doesn't get much tougher than that, does it, Josh?
Yeah, it doesn't get much tougher, but it's a start filled with opportunity for me. You know, the chance to go to the top of the table in a big game against Hearts. You know, I can't remember the last time Celtic were top of the league, so that tells you everything you need to know. Then the Roma game, the Europa League campaign itself is fully back alive after the trip to Rotterdam last week, so that's no longer a dead rubber when Roma come to Parkhead. And then the cup final's huge as well, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does. I think the Hearts game particularly could get him off to a really good start. I think everyone is semi-confident in Celtic going to Parkhead this weekend and getting a result to move back to the top of the table against the Hearts side, who have been somewhat floundering of late. They've not been on their greatest run of form in recent weeks, and with Nancy at the helm, Celtic could get a massive result. The team in the club and everyone needs to go back to the top of the table, but obviously they have the small matter of Dundee on Wednesday night to contend with too, so that might be Martin O'Neill's last stand, will it not? I wouldn't be surprised in the pre-match interview tomorrow night if he turn around and say, yeah, I've got another call, I'm going to be in charge for Sunday. It genuinely wouldn't surprise me. With Celtic at the minute, anything seems like it could happen.
What to ask you about Martin O'Neill, Josh? I mean, everybody knows my thoughts on him. He's a blessed man, the blessed Martin. He should be a sainted man, and people of our ilk and our generation love him, right? Because of what he achieved the first time. He's only enhanced that reputation. But for someone like yourself, you will have grown up hearing the tales of the daring do Celtic under Martin O'Neill, Seville and all that, Henrik Larsson, John Hartson, Chris Sutton, Neil Lennon, Petrov, Bobo Baldi, and the rest. What's your take on him now? You're getting a kind of mellow Martin, but you'll have heard about that and you'll have seen clips and all that from him. But have you enjoyed him being back for this interim spell?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it actually, because obviously, like you say, hear stories of Martin O'Neill and see videos and DVDs of what he'd done in his first Celtic spell, and very much a legendary figure. But it's just been nice to actually see that in the flesh of what he can do with a Celtic team. And it's not as if it's been a couple of easy games he's had. He's had some difficult ties, you know, the Rangers semi-final, Feyenoord, and he's pulled off some massive results. I think it's 6 wins and 7 across all competitions. Yeah. He's done so well, and he's just been refreshing. And Brendan Rodgers was here. There's a lot of kind of hidden messages, sly digs and press conferences and the like, and Martin has been refreshingly honest in every single interview, every single press conference. He doesn't get too ahead of himself. He's very grounded. He seems like he's enjoying it. And that's something we've not really seen from a Celtic manager in recent times, that when they're doing the interviews in the press, and they just seem like they're happy to be here and they're very much just enjoying the job. And on the touchline, you can just tell he hasn't lost anything. Really. He still gets extremely animated. He's still very up for it. And the team on the pitch have responded to him so well. I mean, there's a lot said when he came in about been out the game for 6 years, but he can make players feel 10 feet tall. And if there was ever a Celtic squad that needed to feel like it was 10 feet tall, it was this Celtic squad. And he's come in and he's did so well. And then the run of fixtures Celtic have had recently, even just the 3 in the past week, the St Mirren game, the Feyenoord game, and the Hibs game, all away from home, under Brendan Rodgers at the start of the season, I wouldn't given Celtic a chance of winning 1 or 2 of those games, never mind all 3 in a row. So I've been so happy to see him back. I'll be sad to see him go in a way come the end of this Dundee game on Wednesday night, because it would have been nice to have him stay on for a wee while more. But all good things must come to an end and all that.
You don't say sad to see him go. No, I'm intrigued to hear what you thought. It was a wonderful moment on Sunday when I'm sure it myself that asked him if he'd been reinvigorated by it, and he said he had been, and he was feeling. I said, because you come in as a 73-year-old, and I was making the point he's now 73 going on 43. And he said the guys have kept him young, and it's been interesting from a young perspective. And then he said we've won some important football matches, and then he turned around and he said we beat Rangers with a huge grin on his face, and then there was just like, he was just so chuffed that he had beaten Rangers in the semi-final, and he said his biggest fear was failure. He said to his wife, my biggest fear was failure, coming in and failing. He said he didn't care about his legacy from before, but he feared coming in and failing and not doing what he was asked to do. But Josh, my thoughts are he's done what he was asked to do, or he's did what he was asked to do, and then some. He got Celtic back into a title race, which they were 8 points behind the last time they left Edinburgh. He's breathed new life into the Europa League campaign, although he didn't know how many European games he was going to get. And he steered them into the first major domestic League Cup final of the season. And that was his remit, wasn't it? And I personally, and not for sentiment, Josh, I've said it last week, I want to see him stay on for the cup final, because it's a results business and he's been getting results.
Yeah, I know that. This is the thing. There's a fine balance. Obviously, Wilfried Nancy is going to be the man long term, but it would be a fairy tale ending if Martin O'Neill got that St Mirren Cup final and was lifting up the League Cup on the 14th of December, and then Wilfried Nancy came in for the trip to Tannadice a couple of days later. Then that would be his first game, and he would still get a chance to assess the squad before the January transfer window. So that would be nice. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. In terms of Martin O'Neill talking about his remit when he came in, from the supporters, probably from people at the top of the club as well, was to steady the ship.
Yeah.
And he's done so much more than steady the ship. He's got the ship sailing at 100 knots in the right direction. He's been so good, and he's been exactly what Celtic need. And I think come the end of the season, and it's a big if, Celtic are successful in the league title and winning the Scottish Premiership, Martin O'Neill certainly deserves as much of the praise as Wilfried Nancy might do for doing that. But that's a long way away yet. And he's still got one game to go, and I think everyone's looking forward to it tomorrow night.
I was going to say, Josh, tomorrow night, if it turns out to be his last stand, they will cheer him to the rafters, won't they? And I don't have any downer per se on Wilfried Nancy coming in. As you say, we have to embrace the future, and I'm really looking forward to that under Wilfried Nancy. But tomorrow night could be kind of emotional, but he did put Jim White in his place and say he's not going to cry, so he's made of sterner stuff, clearly, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is. It'll be, don't get me wrong, it probably will be an emotional moment for Martin come the full-time whistle. I don't know if he's going to actually go around and do a lap of honour, because in the full time he's been here, which I've found relatively strange, because every Celtic manager, I think, that's been the Celtic manager since I've been watching the team, has gone around the stadium at the full-time whistle to do a lap of honour. Martin just does a wee hand up to the fans and then disappears up the tunnel. So I wonder if tomorrow night, his last ever game, it could be his last ever game in management for his career, just in general. So will they give him the microphone to make a speech? What's going to happen? I don't know. But knowing Martin, he'll just probably run straight up the tunnel and then get on with his media duties.
If they give him the microphone, it'll be like an audience with Martin O'Neill, because it'll be like a 10-minute piece of stand-up. I blame Ronnie Dyler for all that managerial walking around the park. I remember being at football matches, and there was grown men not leaving until they did the Ronnie Roar. And I'm like, you're a grown man. Behave yourself. I'm being flippant about that, but it just seemed to me to be a strange thing. I get all that. It's gimmicky, and you want to show the fans that you're all united and all that, but it's just that, I remember saying to my father, I just couldn't believe the way people were, no, can't leave until we hear the Ronnie Roar. But it blew my mind, I've got to be honest, but each to their own, as they say, Josh, each to their own. But yeah, and because to me, he's come in, and I also made the point, to be fair, that he played that kind of old geezer, 73-year-old, kind of, I'm not too clued in to a T, because I knew Fing well, he's clued in. He's just a man full of knowledge and wisdom, and we can all learn. And I'm also making the point, Josh, I still think there's a role for him if he wants it at the club. People are saying director of football, but I think, in these times of fan protest, disputes, and a bit of rancour and anger, I think Martin O'Neill's a perfect middleman, isn't he?
Yeah.
To sort out this ongoing dispute between the board and a section of the Celtic supporters. If you were looking for someone to say, you know what, a foot in both camps and to ease any tension, I think Martin O'Neill's a perfect go-to guy. He could help smooth the waters moving forward. I'd hope that would be the case, because he's got too much to offer, I think, Josh, moving forward.
Yeah, I feel like he's very comfortable with his roles in the media in London and what he's been doing audiences and all that kind of stuff. But he's come back to Celtic. I think he's fell back in love with the club since he's been here. And he was asked about it by, I think it was Sky Sports and then BBC in some of the post-match interviews on Sunday. Would you like to stay in some capacity, even if you're not the new permanent manager? And he kind of danced around the question in typical Martin O'Neill fashion, but he didn't rule it out. At the end of the day, he didn't say no. So I think if the opportunity was there in a certain role that the club have or that they could create for him, then I think there is. I think he certainly should stay in some capacity if it's possible, because just his presence. Yeah, the kids talk a lot about aura, but he certainly has that. And it'd be great to see him stay around and be rewarded for what he's done. He doesn't even need reward for what he's done, because he's already got that legacy there, but certainly deserves to stay around.
He made the point that he's still got a cup of cold coffee to finish in the King's Road at some point, so that's it. He might want the quiet life, Josh. You never know.
That's the thing. It's all about what Martin O'Neill wants at the end of the day, because I think everyone at Celtic would welcome him in open arms in a certain capacity to stay at the club long term. But at the end of the day, it's his desire. He's a 73-year-old guy. He's retired. He's probably enjoying his retirement before all this. He's the chair of the League Managers Association down in England. He's also got that role. So he's got a couple. He's spinning a number of plates even before he came to Celtic to become the interim manager. So something he'll have to think about.
Going back to Nancy, what are you expecting, Josh, from Nancy? I think everybody has conducted their own due diligence now on Nancy, and I think the excitement's being ramped up, having spoken to various commentators and various people who have either worked with him or have intimate knowledge of him. But I know that 3-game spell is as tough as it gets. But you said there's tremendous opportunity. I'm sure Nancy will be doing his own due diligence just now on the players and being briefed and kept right up to speed. So he kind of has to hit the ground running, doesn't he?
It's non-negotiable that he hits the ground running, because the team has been winning under Martin O'Neill, and if Nancy comes in and kind of disrupts that apple cart, then it won't be a great start. So there is a wee bit of pressure on him actually coming in to start to get results, but I'm intrigued and excited to see how he does. I've not heard a bad word said about him by anyone, whether it be players, pundits, people who have watched his Columbus Crew Montreal teams. So that's always a positive, and I feel he's the right fit for Celtic in terms of where the club are. A manager who's hungry, who's got desire to come in to change things and bring fresh ideas. Martin O'Neill's kind of bridged the gap between Brendan Rodgers and Wilfried Nancy in terms of just making some common sense football decisions, getting the team back winning, and now Wilfried Nancy will come in and look to implement his new style and what he wants to do. In terms of his systems, everyone knows he plays a 3-4-2-1. That's another thing I'm very interested to see if he actually goes and does that straight away. I think it would be a monumental risk if he comes into Celtic in the first game against Hearts, top of the table clash. He changes the whole thing up to play a back three, because I can't remember the last time Celtic actually started a match with a back three. So that would be a point for discussion. And yeah, just so intrigued to see how he handles himself. He's coming into a job that a couple of weeks ago, if he initially came into it when Brendan Rodgers had just departed, probably one of the most difficult jobs in British football to come into when Celtic aren't winning consistently. But now he's coming in where there has been a period of transition and it's somewhat easier for him now that the team are winning, the team are high in confidence, and they're highly motivated going into this game on Sunday.
Martin O'Neill will be passing on that baton and saying to him, I've done my bit. You just do yours now. It's over to you. You know, he wouldn't dream of telling him how to manage Celtic, but he's kind of shown him, hasn't he? This is how you do it.
He's shown him by example. He said, Wilfried, if you want to succeed, this is what you have to do. All you need to do is win away games in Europe and get results domestically. Just a small matter of that.
Just like that, Josh. Yes, easier said than
exactly. I wonder if Wilfried Nancy will chat to Martin O'Neill. Obviously, Martin won't. He's not the type of guy to reach out to Wilfried Nancy and speak to him and say, oh, here's what you should and shouldn't do. But I certainly think if Wilfried Nancy approached Martin O'Neill, Martin would be more than happy to give him some advice. And I think any wise man who's coming into the job would look at what his predecessor's done and recognise that his predecessor's been successful and ask him for some advice, especially given Martin's experience. And as well, Wilfried Nancy, there's been a lot made of it coming into this unique little world of Scottish football, having come in from only really working in a coaching capacity and a managerial capacity over in the States. So that's a big step as well. There is a pressure here that is unlike anywhere else in world football, to be honest. But I think he'll recognise that quickly. I think everyone that comes in recognises that quickly if they don't recognise it initially when they come in, because he knows that, Hugh Keevan's always said that a draw is a disaster, a defeat is a catastrophe, and if Celtic don't win on Sunday against Hearts, then it's not a great start for him. So he'll know the pressure's there, and he knows that he'll have to get results quickly.
Yeah, and listen, I think he'll relish that pressure, Josh. I think every manager, that's why they're a football manager. It comes with the territory, doesn't it? And that's what Callum McGregor was saying. Look, new guy coming in, whoever it is, but this is Celtic. We win football matches. The demand is to win big football matches, and his opening three don't get really much bigger than that. And fine, and I think Nancy will be relish a chance to put his wits against that calibre and level of opposition straight away, so that there's no kind of bedding in process. Just like, right, let's do it. Let's go. But I also think as well, on the strapline it's got which Celtic stars will benefit most from his arrival. I think two players in particular have timed their run to perfection for the new manager coming in. One of them's Yang, and the other one is Arne Engels. And I think if they do have a conversation, Martin O'Neill might say to Wilfried Nancy, those two guys, this is how you manage them, or this is what I was, I would hope he would have that conversation, because, every time you think Yang's heading for the door, he has a kind of Lazarus-like recovery, doesn't he, and starts to do stuff, and you think you're so frustrating. And then every time the kind of criticism gets a bit heavy for Arne Engels, and it has been, he starts to look the part. And I think Arne Engels, don't know if you'll agree with this, Josh, I think Arne Engels' best performances for Celtic have been in the European stage. Because I thought he was excellent in Rotterdam, and then I thought he followed that up at Easter Road on Sunday with another excellent game and a brilliant header. The Arne Engels of old wouldn't even have gone for that header.
Yeah, he's especially in Europe. Certainly, I agree with that. In Champions League last year, I think he played in all of Celtic's games. And then even as well as the Feyenoord game last week, Sturmgratz under Brendan Rodgers in October. He was terrific that night. Some of his deliveries were sensational. And yeah, like you say, that goal at the weekend, I was very happy for him to score that kind of goal. A late run into the box after a cross, that's something I feel like he needs to add to his game. If he's going to score more goals, he needs to keep doing that more often. But going back to the initial question, what players will benefit from Nancy's arrival? Certainly agree with you, Yang. He's probably one of the most frustrating players I've ever had the pleasure of watching at Celtic. 1 minute you think he's going to score a hat-trick, the next minute you think he's the next coming of Mikey Johnston. It's so annoying at times, and for him, if he can get a run of consistent form, you know there is a player there. Everyone keeps saying it, there is a player in there, but it's true because you've seen his performances over the past couple of weeks. There certainly is something in him. Paulo Bernardo's someone I would like to see come to the fore. I think he's got so much talent. You hear stories from pundits and people saying that he's one of the best players in training. I'd love to see him translate that into games. I remember the match against Rangers, beginning of last season. Celtic won 3-0 at Parkhead. Paulo Bernardo started in midfield that day, and he was incredible. I always say he was a Rottweiler that afternoon, and that's the levels he can reach as well. In Brendan Rodgers' first season, Paulo Bernardo played most of the games in the Champions League, so he's maybe stagnated a bit in his development recently. But I feel like a new manager coming in the door can really give him a fresh start, and that'll be exactly what he needs at Celtic. In terms of the 3-4-2-1 system, I wonder what guys are going to play at centre half. Wonder, does he move Kieran Tierney into a left-sided central defensive role in a back three? Thought Marcelo Sirachi was excellent at the weekend, again against Hibs, really unlucky when he hit the post, and he will, I think, thrive on a left-sided role in that kind of 4 in midfield. I think he would do really well, bombing up and down that left-hand side. So yeah, that's a couple of players I'm intrigued to see. Benjamin Nygren as well is another one, because you see the positions he takes up in the box. He can always pop up with a goal, and in one of those kind of inside forward roles in the front three in Nancy's system, I think he could certainly thrive there.
You mentioned Sirachi. I mentioned the point on Sunday that Celtic maybe need to have a look at making that permanent, because I like what Sirachi brings to the table. He went for power instead of accuracy on Sunday, and he was really annoyed with himself that he didn't score. He's also rattled the woodwork before, the crossbar, I think, at Celtic Park in a game as well. But that first goal doesn't come if Sirachi doesn't just keep running with the ball and have the presence of mind to shunt it out to Yang to say, right, I've made ground here. You've got your Chris to walk into, go and do what you do, So
he's a quality player, Marcelo Sirachi. It's not often you see a guy who comes into Celtic and when he immediately gets the ball and he plays. I think his first game was at Ibrox, and the boring 0-0 draw. He came on that day and you could just tell, even though he played 20-25 minutes, he looked like a player. And then he's consistently followed that up just on the ball. He's got that elite quality, I feel, and I don't know how much Boca Juniors would be after for him if the move was to be made permanent, but I would certainly be paying it up, because he's seemingly robust too. I know he had the kind of wee hamstring injury, he's only been out for a couple of games, but you need someone, if you're going to have Kieran Tierney as your long-term left back, you need a guy who's reliable and who can come into games like Sunday after a big European game, Hibs away, and come in and perform to the level that Marcelo Sirachi did and be happy with maybe playing 20-25 games a season. And he seems like he certainly is relatively happy with that. He's forced his way back into the Uruguay setup as well since he's been at Celtic. Got a call up a couple of months ago. Okay, that was maybe for a squad that the manager was testing out to see who he'd like to play, but he captained Uruguay in those games as well. So I really, really like Marcelo Sirachi. He's probably one of my favourite players at Celtic at the minute. Hopefully they can get the deal done permanently.
You've got to ask the question, haven't you, Josh? I'm always one of these guys. You've got to ask the question, see what the player thinks and see what the club thinks, but I don't think it would do them any harm.
And what another point, sorry, before you go on Sirachi, Joe Hart was on commentary for one of the Celtic games. I think it was one of the first European games, and he obviously has some knowledge of behind the scenes at Celtic, having only played a couple of years ago and knowing a lot of guys in the dressing room. And he was saying that Marcelo Sirachi is one of the biggest influences in the dressing room in terms of his humour, and he's just a hilarious guy behind the scenes, supposedly, in terms of lifting the mood of the whole playing squad in the dressing room, which I found quite interesting.
One, it's interesting. Two, it's great to know, isn't it, that he seems to have
Yeah.
settled straight away.
Yeah.
I would settle for Wilfred Nancy settling like that straight away and
So,
becoming that huge influence in the dressing room from straight off the bat. Now, we are today, we'll hear from Martin O'Neill, the press conference situation, pre-match for the last time. I keep saying it's the last time, he keeps saying it as well, but we never know really, do we? But there is a game tomorrow, Dundee at Celtic Park, a Dundee team who troubled us at Dens Park, Josh, in the dying embers of Brendan Rodgers' reign. They're facing a different Celtic animal now, aren't they?
yeah,
And
definitely.
well, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? But but it just shows you that there are no gimmies. Celtic will have to work hard and to get a result again, Josh.
Yeah, I think it will be maybe somewhat more of a difficult game than what people are anticipating. Dundee have actually been better than I expected under Stephen Presley this season. They got a draw at Ibrox at the beginning of the campaign, obviously beat Celtic. In attack, I think they're actually an alright side. They can create chances, they can score goals. I think the Celtic players, though, will have a point to prove. They should never have lost at Dens Park a couple of months ago. They are so much better than that. They'll recognise that and they'll know that, and they want to go out there, number one, to right that wrong, and number two, to give Martin O'Neill the send-off he deserves. They thought they were doing it at the weekend. Obviously, they'll be doing it again on Wednesday night, and hopefully send him off into the sunset. That would be really nice. And it's another crucial game in the league campaign, because you can't afford to drop points when you're the team that's chasing. You need to keep winning games, and that's what Celtic need to do tomorrow.
The thing about it, Josh, it doesn't stop if Celtic do win on Wednesday and then go to the top of the table by beating Hearts on Sunday. You've got to keep that going.
Yeah.
The job's not done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think they'll recognise that. Celtic, they've not really been in a position over the past two years, maybe, where they've been the actual team that's been doing the chasing.
Yeah.
The only real season I can remember that was Postecoglou's first year, and they chased Rangers down, and they eventually got top of the league that night in February. They beat Rangers 3-0, and they stayed there for the rest of the campaign. So once you get there, everyone wants to chase you. You've got a Hearts side who are going to be extremely hungry, although they've been in a bad run of form recently. They'll want to chase you down if you do go top of the league. Rangers too, not been great under Danny Rowe, but they'll have that motivation as well. So once you're at the top of the league, you need to stay there. And I think Callum McGregor, people like that, he's been a massive influence in the dressing room, particularly since Brendan Rodgers left, in terms of leading this squad on. You've seen it with his performances as well. 2 massive goals under Martin O'Neill against Rangers and St Mirren. He'll be key in that, delivering that message and sending that message on to the players. Make no doubt about it.
Have Celtic had their wobble, Josh?
I hope so. I think there's just so much football to be played between now and February. I think it's a game every 3.5 to 4 days, and inevitably within that, you're going to drop points at one juncture or another, and you're maybe going to get a result that's not ideal. It's about how you bounce back from that, though. And we've seen throughout this season that this Celtic side has maybe get beat one week, then they've struggled to a domestic win the next week, and then they've get beat again the next week or drop points again the next week. So if you lose one game, you draw one game, you just need to win them all after that. I don't see Celtic winning every game between now and the next international break. There will be games where they don't, but yeah, again, it's about how you recover from it. And I think this squad, they've been through that rough patch. I don't think it will get any worse than it was earlier in the season. That's the only saving grace. But you never know with football. No one knows how Wilfried Nancy is going to do when he comes in. But I think I have a bit of confidence in him in this playing squad, that the team seems to be more confident in themselves now, and they weren't that at the beginning of the campaign, and that could be massive in football as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that confidence making way for excitement as well? The imminent arrival of Wilfred Non. Are you excited by that or intrigued by it? Probably is the word, isn't it?
It's a mixture of both, to be honest, because number one, intrigued to see, obviously as journalists herself, how he handles himself in the media, what he's like in the press conferences. Number two, how he acts in the touchline. I'm led to believe he's quite animated from what I've watched, and then how the team plays under him. That's obviously the most important thing. And then another thing is his dress sense in the touchline. I think he's a very trendy guy from what I've seen of him wearing on the touchline at Columbus Crew. So I'm intrigued to see what he's wearing because I'm into my fashion sometimes. It maybe not looks like it, but hopefully he's wearing some decent stuff on the touchline.
A dedicated follower of fashion, are you, young Josh? We always let other people be the judge of that, don't they? You know what I mean? As you say, people will tell you if you're a fashionista or not.
I know it won't be brown brogues, put it that way.
Tremendous. Well, we'll leave it there, Josh. We'll be back tomorrow. I think it's myself and Kevin that are on, actually. Celtic Dash podcast for Martin O'Neill's Last Stand. You know what I mean? Get the old geezers on, Josh. You know what I mean? That's how it rolls. But thank you. Stellar contribution, Josh. Really enjoyed that. And enjoy, I'm sure you'll enjoy Martin O'Neill's Last Stand. And then we usher in a new era under Wilfried Nancy. It is getting exciting now because it's almost close, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly. It's within touching distance now. What's been kind of weird about it all, though, is Martin O'Neill is confirmed on Sky Sports at the weekend, and he confirmed in TalkSport yesterday that Wilfried Nancy is the man. Still not had any official communication from the club about that, which is a wee bit strange, but that's kind of what we've expected with Celtic recently. But yeah, it's just imminent. You're just waiting on getting the Twitter notification from Celtic saying that Wilfried Nancy is the new manager.
Indeed, we await that with bated breath. But thank you, Josh. Guys, have a wonderful Tuesday. We will see you tomorrow. Same back channel. Take care. All the best.